safe streets, vibrant neighborhoods, successful business and commerce. These are things that make a healthy community. We are a diverse community, rural, suburban, urban, a multitude of languages and ethnicities, ages and experiences. We are a collaborative community. Public-private partnerships make us a model community that others want to follow. It is what makes us unique. It is what makes us strong. The employees of Kent County reflect our diversity and seek to serve our communities.
People in this county, in this area, we wrap our arms around each other. We come together to collaborate, to solve problems. We're all working for the good of the whole. And I think that's wonderful. And you can see it. You can see it as you drive around Kent County.
Our impact starts the day a baby is born and a birth certificate is issued, to protecting children from deadly diseases through vaccination, to the public safety and justice provided by law enforcement and the courts, to offering veterans services and caring for the elderly. Every day we work to keep our communities robust.
I think if you are somebody who is interested in serving your community, in building a strong knowledge base and a good group of people to work with, then the county is one of your best employment opportunities out there. It's been completely rewarding in every way I could possibly explain for 26 years, and I feel like I grow every single day still today.
Leading these dedicated employees are 19-member Board of Commissioners and our County Administrator Controller, along with our elected officials and appointed department directors, placing emphasis on civic involvement, quality housing, vibrant neighborhoods, and strong, solid infrastructure to allow businesses to thrive. Professional, dedicated, collaborative, and innovative.
Behind the scenes, collaboration between foundations, charitable organizations, nonprofits, for-profit businesses, public sector demonstrated through the county, the city of Grand Rapids, the townships, all the cities and the villages in our area. If we don't come together, then we will not have the strength that we have today, and I only hope to build upon that.
Our aim is to make our communities the best they can be. We are involved in exciting development projects, sustainable recycling programs, and creative progressive prevention programming. We partner with elected officials, impacting policy ideas that become great achievements. We seek opportunities to reach out into the community and offer our services to help our residents make Kent County thrive.
Our relationship is solid, both from a staff standpoint at the county level as well as the Board of Commissioners. And they understand what we do and the benefits that we can do for the community, and vice versa. We couldn't do what we do without the help of Kent County.
While most of us are busy running our lives, Kent County's elected officials, administrator controller, and over 1,600 employees are serving the communities where we live our lives, so we can all have a place we are proud to call home. Kent County, its life well run.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Kent County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today's date is Thursday, September 14th, 2017. The time is 8:30 a.m. and we'll begin our meeting today with roll call.
Good morning. Commissioners Womack.
Present.
Voorhees. Vonk.
Here.
Talon.
Here.
Steck.
Here.
Skaggs.
Here.
Ponstein.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Melton. Here. Mast.
Here.
Korndike.
Present.
Coleman.
Here.
Jones.
Present.
Hennessy.
Here.
Bulkowski. Breeby. Vice Chair Bolter.
Here.
Commissioner Antor.
Here.
Chair Salfeld.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 17 present, 2 absent. You have a quorum.
For the record, Commissioner Bulkowski noted that he would be running late this morning, so he should be here shortly. We'll move next to item number 3 and 4, and I'll call on Commissioner Jones for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to take this opportunity to ask God to please give his blessings on the hurricane recoveries that are happening in our country, to help us remember the 2,977 people who lost their lives in 9/11, and to please bless the family of Tom Dempsey, who we lost recently, and I'll feel that grief and pain. So if we could take a moment of silence to focus on these areas, that will be our thoughts this morning. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we are next to agenda item 5, which are special orders of business. We actually have 2 of them today, the first being the Gerald R. Ford International Airport Authority. And for that, we'll welcome Jim Gill, a relatively new director. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me come here today and talk to you a little bit about the airport and some of the things that are going on here. Let me start off a little bit just by giving you a little bit of a background. Something that obviously this board is very well aware of is that the authority transition actually occurred, and it occurred successfully July 1st of 2016. We're now just a little bit over a year old. I've worked on transitions before. I come from working at a couple different airports and worked on one personally, and I can unequivocally say from a distance that this was probably the smoothest transition of any airport from maybe a county or city run operation to an authority. The level of cooperation between the county, the airport staff is unprecedented. So I have a lot of folks even now come up to me and say, how did that happen? And so I think a lot of kudos obviously goes to this board and sort of the vision of creating that independent authority. And we definitely appreciate the cooperation. It's a continuing transition as we continue through things like information technology and procurement and things like that. So we want to thank certainly the county and the county staff that has helped us through that. I know Wayman and I get together to discuss a lot of these issues. It's truly a partnership. So thank you for that, and we hope that we can continue to have more good things to share with you as time goes on. As of last month, focusing our efforts on what does it mean for the airport, what do we want to be. We adopted a new mission and vision last month, and you can see our mission as it's listed there is to create an exceptional travel experience for our passengers and growth and prosperity for all of West Michigan. We realize that we not only have a role in taking care of the folks that use the airport, the stakeholders in the community, but we also have a role to help this community grow. Having a growing community is certainly beneficial to the airport, and the airport needs to do its share in helping the community grow as well. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And our vision is to be a global leader recognized for customer excellence, safety, and innovation. Customer excellence is something that I think is pretty well known for the airport. Very convenient, very easy to get in and out of. And if we're nothing at all if we're not safe. So safety has to be there, and we continue to try to innovate with our Gateway Transformation Project and some of the other things that hopefully you'll see in the upcoming months and years. So I know I'm talking to the home team crowd here, so I won't bore you with too many statistics, but maybe just as a reminder, airport is a little over 3,100 acres. Actually in 2 townships, both the city of Grand Rapids and Cascade. 70 businesses either do work on the airport or reside on the airport. There's 20 employees at any given time, badged and accessible to the airport. And our last study showed that the airport has an annual economic impact to the region of $3.1 billion. So we understand what an important economic generator and asset it is to the region, and what our role is to continue to make that happen. We have 5 airlines that serve us on a regular basis, and you see the list, and there's a little hole in that list. That was done intentionally because we're going to have Frontier starting in December. Frontier is coming in to serve two Florida markets. I'm sorry, 1 Florida market to begin with, Orlando, and then they're also going to serve Denver. Before they even flew their first flight, and after visiting the airport one time, The other week, they just announced that they're adding a third flight. So they will also be serving Fort Myers. So they'll be going to Orlando, Denver, and Fort Myers, creating some competition. And with those low-cost carriers, it's very clear that they're only in markets where they think they can be profitable, obviously. Especially carriers like Frontier and one that's not on here, Spirit. They're very conscientious of profitability. So they wouldn't come into this market if they didn't think, number one, that the community is going to support it, and number two, they can make money at it. So Frontier is a great addition to that, and we're looking forward to having them start service. Good news before they even started by adding a flight, but we're also hoping to have even more good news from some other opportunities in the near future. So nonstop destinations. We have 24 airports that we currently serve. Most recently added in the side there was Reagan Airport. DCA, that flight returned this year on American Airlines. And we're hoping to continue to make this, fill out this graph a little bit more. We will do the best that we can to do that. We had 2.65 million passengers in 2016. That was a record for the airport. I will tell you, we just looked at the statistics for the most recent month, or the end of August, and we just continue to break records. The month of August, passengers were up almost 8%, 7.9%, I believe is the correct number. So we have 11 months in a row of record-breaking growth. Our challenge is to how do we continue that growth? How do we continue to support what the community, both business and leisure travelers want, as well as how do we support that with facilities and services to make sure that the service level at the airport doesn't go down either. Now, the real sexy stuff, the financials. Again, we continue to do well. The operating revenues for 2016 were 1.5 million higher than they were for 2015. Operating expenses, as you can see, were down, and therefore operating income is up. That income effectively, just for basic understanding, number one, as you all know, the airport's not operated on taxpayer dollars. It's operated by the fees generated and revenues generated on the airport. So that operating income is effectively the retained earnings that the airport has to reinvest back into the facilities. They don't go anywhere else. They stay on the airport, and we're very happy that it would be difficult for me to come to you asking for you to write us a check to operate the airport. So not only is it self-sustaining, but we're positively growing and using that fund. They're using those funds for some of the improvements that I'll talk about in a minute. So some of the things that happened recently within the last year, in no specific order other than just convenience there. The airport viewing area, we were able to reopen that this year. That's been a tremendous success. I was surprised at the number of folks that frequent that area. It's a unique thing for this region. I've worked at other airports that had viewing areas that were interesting. We have somewhere in the order of magnitude of about 350 cars a day that go into that area. That was really surprising to me. It wasn't a scientific study, but just folks trying to keep track of what the activity was over there. So the improvements that we made to that area, including the new canopy, the restrooms, definitely have made that area a destination, and hearing some good stories about folks that really enjoy coming out to being able to be as close as you can on a public side to a commercial runway at a major airport is pretty unique. It's unscientifically, it's the closest viewing area to a commercial runway at any airport in the U.S. Signature Flight Support, they're our fixed-based operator, or FBO. They made a major renovation of their facilities and a great upgrade. They continue to do well, and we appreciate their investment into the airport. We obviously did the parking garage roof a little while back. That has gone over phenomenally, especially when we get into December, January, and February. I think folks definitely appreciate that, and that has been an amenity that, regardless of what it does for revenue, is something that the passengers and the travelers not only expected but deserve. And our stormwater facility was another major improvement. That has won both regional as well as national awards for its forethought on environmental stewardship. So we're able to treat some of the contaminants, I'd say, from the airport, from de-icing fluid and things like that that are run off with bugs, with organic matter that actually cleans it and puts it back into sort of the water table without trucking it off and dumping it somewhere so it's someone else's problem. So that was really aggressive thinking and was a great project and recognized for that. So our Gateway Transformation Project, the big thing that I've been hearing a lot about, what that has done is that allowed us to consolidate the checkpoint. As you're familiar with, there was checkpoints both on A and B. This allowed us to have a single checkpoint, which is not only helpful for a passenger who may be confused, someone not familiar with the area, but it's definitely helpful when it comes to economies of scale with the Transportation Security Administration. So now if the A checkpoint was not that crowded and B was, they'd have to try to figure out how to get a person over to the other checkpoint. Now they can open and close lanes in one concise area. They can expand or contract pre-check as they need to. So that's going to do more and more to help passenger flow and new retail and concessions. Some of the things that I think we as a community deserve. And just this weekend, the image you see on the right that's a rendering, and it looks exactly like that. So not too often do you get a rendering and it ends up looking very different. These renderings, the one on the left is an actual photo, the one on the right is a rendering. That's exactly what Founders looks like. They opened this weekend. They're doing really well, and I know the community is excited to get that done. That couldn't have been done without a unique partnership with the community and the Regional Air Alliance with their cabinet, to the Gateway Transformation Project cabinet, went out and sought investment from local businesses to say, this is your airport, do you want to help sponsor this? So to date, it's over $17 million of private money that went into this. It's not taxpayer funded. And what you see listed there are 6 major contributors. There's a lot more than 6, but these are 6 very large contributors that help make this project happen, and we'll continue to promote them and thank them for their partnership, including Amway, Meyer, Spartan Nash, Spectrum Health, Steelcase, and Wolverine. So you'll see more and more about that. We have our ribbon cutting coming up on the 27th for phase 1. Now we're on to phase 2 under design, which is what I'll say from the curb to the checkpoint. So it's going to be ticketing, baggage claim, everything in the front of the building. And getting those machines, those CTX machines, if you check a bag, you have to wheel it over to someone, a TSA person who puts it in a machine right in the lobby, go away. That's going to go behind the wall in process. When you check your bag, you leave your bag and walk away. So you're not dragging your bag back and forth. Some of the things that we're working on in the future, and we're currently working on and continue to strive towards, continued customer service enhancements. The more we can do to make that passenger experience better, terrific. We need to keep doing that. There's some technology advancements that we're looking at. I mentioned Gateway Transformation Phase 2. That's under design. We'll start construction with that next year. We're in the middle of the planning process, which is like a 20-year look at the airport and its facilities and what do we need to continue to operate effectively and functionally and maintain that customer service level. We have some recommendations that are coming from that master planning process, and we get community and public input. We have a notice that's going to be published seeking that input at a meeting very soon. A couple things that we're looking at that I think will be somewhat, in a way, game changers for the airport. It's Federal Inspection Station. That doesn't mean a lot to someone who doesn't know what that is, but effectively that's enabling us to allow inbound international flights to come to the airport. Right now we do not have a facility that can accept international flights. So again, we're not talking 7 flights a day into Heathrow. It really starts as seasonal charter traffic from the Caribbean, from not South America, but Central America, Mexico, to allow that to happen. Right now, the folks in our community, the second largest city in Michigan, does not have a federal inspection station at its airport. In Detroit, I'm FIS. They can take flights any day of the week, any time of the day. We cannot, and we do need to do that, especially for the size of this region, its continued growth. So we're talking with Customs and Border Protection right now about what that means, how to do that, and we're also working with our legislators to help assist us in getting that approval. We're looking at working with the FAA on the air traffic control tower relocation. Our tower has been there since 1963. One of the oldest tower, I think it's the second oldest tower at a commercial airport in the U.S. And the problem isn't that that's fine. The problem is where it's at, in the height of the tower. We are limited in what we can do on the airport. We talk about some development opportunities. The height of that tower disables us from being able to do any of that. So we're looking at that. I mentioned air service achievements. We're looking to do more and more that we can to bring more service here, to bring more carriers here, to make opportunities to bring larger aircraft here on some of those flights, including frequencies. Financial performance, none of this can happen without us being financially good stewards of the airport and its revenues. Need to do that. And just an effort to continue to engage our employees and plan for the future with our employees. We have a great staff. We have a very lean and mean staff. We don't have a lot of people compared to other airports, which is good. We're not straddled with that. At the same time, they're very productive. So how do we keep them engaged? Very, very quickly, we recognize our role as an economic engine for the region. So we continue to focus on economic development. Right now, there's about 5 different spots that we say you can do development on. And there's not a lot of information other than maybe some zoning. As part of our master plan, we looked at what's the opportunity to either do non-aeronautical, so non-aviation economic development on the airport, or mixed use, where a piece of that parcel is aviation, maybe a hangar, and the rest of it is office, light industrial, tech flex, whatever. So what you see in front of you are 16 different sites that we see an opportunity to do economic development on. Some of those are in different stages of preparedness, have utilities, infrastructure already in place and are shovel ready. Some need additional utility work, site work, but we need to continue to help this region grow by taking our assets that we have on the table and making them available for that growth. So that area that I show you there, it's a little over 800 acres of potentially developable property on the airport. That's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And I appreciate the support of not only this board, but the members of this board that serve on our board, our chairman, Roger Morgan, vice chairman, Danny Korndike, and finance and legislative committee chair, Ted Vonk. So it's a great relationship. Anything that we can do to help with the county, we want to make sure that we're out in front doing that, because as we realize, this community is unique. It's all about collaboration and partnership and working together, and we want to be part of that and continue that relationship. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you, Jim. Questions this morning? Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Salfeld. 3 quick ones, hopefully. With the security viewing, the viewing area being as closest to the runway as any airport, how does one provide security?
That's a great question, and someone asked us that when we did the ribbon cutting at for the viewing area. Its proximity is not really the issue of risk. There's a lot of things that go into that. You go to a lot of airports, it's close to an aircraft or closer to an aircraft. It's just that this is a defined area that folks can go to. It does not pose a risk any more than any other risk that you would have in any other public area. We worked with the TSA and the FAA. They're very much aware of it. It's pre-existing. We continue to monitor that. We obviously have security measures in place and patrol that area and keep an eye on things. But it's a great question, because security is always going to be our #1 concern.
You had mentioned, and that's one of the 3 low costs versus the traditional airlines that are already here. One of the tactics of the traditional airlines when low costs come in is suddenly their rates, which were high, come down to try to squeeze them out of the market. What does the future look like for the low costs that we have now, and will they be here 10 years from now?
Well, that's tough to say. Who would have thought that every major airline would have went bankrupt? At some point, I remember working with the folks from American. They said, we're the only airline that ever filed for bankruptcy. No, that's not true anymore. I think the difference is it's a different passenger in a lot of ways. The low-cost carriers are really focusing on that passenger that would otherwise not be a passenger. The folks at Allegiant will tell you their competition is the couch. They're looking for those passengers that otherwise would not fly. And they're looking for that low fare, what I like to call the backpack traveler. They're not checking a bag. They don't care if the flight gets moved a little bit. At the same time, it's a very affordable option. So I think, to the best of my knowledge, which is obviously in the airline side of the business, I think those 3 are very viable. They're all profitable. I was reading some airline profitability information yesterday. All of them are making money, but the future is always in question as to how things change. I think it would be difficult for those carriers to sort of run them out of business, because those carriers offer a different product for the most part. The legacy carriers are taking you from here through another airport, whereas Allegiant and Frontier and even Spirit at other airports are really focal point service. So if you're going to St. Petersburg and you want to fly on a legacy carrier like American, well, then you should plan on going through Chicago, or on Delta going through Atlanta. Their focus is direct flight, less expensive, but you pay more a la carte. So I believe that their model has been working, and I expect it to continue to work unless something major changes in the industry.
And then the final question, you get that airline ticket, there's fees and taxes galore, a lot of it, and even at the airport itself, goes to the federal government. How much of that are we getting back, and how much do they skim before it comes back?
A good chunk of that money goes to, there's the ticket tax, and then there's the PFC. The passenger facility charge is what the airport gets to retain. Actually, the airlines give it to the airport to reinvest in the airport facilities. So that underwrites a lot of the improvements that you see, and usually those are airfield improvements, runway rehabilitation, taxiway issues. But there is a ticket tax that's partially is a fixed tax and is a percentage tax. That goes in a couple different directions. We do get a piece of that back. As an airport operator, I'll tell you it's not a big enough piece, but it does go into things like funding the TSA, funding the air traffic control system. So our annual entitlements, what we're entitled to get from the airlines, is several $1 million a year. Of course, the amount collected at the airport is more than that, but it goes into some other pockets. So it's an interesting to try to maximize that for the local use versus letting the government, federal government, get it and sort of do what they want with it. The federal government at times has robbed the airport trust fund to fund other portions of the government, and that's what we sort of jump up and down going, no, that was meant to help the airports.
Thank you for the answer, and welcome to Kent County.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Commissioner Melton.
Thank you, Chair. I had a chance to meet you when you were first coming to town. I hope you've settled in all right. Good.
Love it.
As far as the security viewing area, I'm aging myself here, but I can remember I think we used to be up, but when they first moved it down and my kids were younger, and my point is we have many people in Kentwood who probably will never fly, but they go and they watch the airplanes, and two kids that we mentored, although he hasn't made it yet, it's been kind of a challenging road, because to take him and watch the planes. I mean, he would ask Pepper, my husband, with question after question, which of course God couldn't answer all of them, most of them. But when the people would come around, now that it's more organized, and he's older, he's 20, and his questions are answered, and I truly believe that someday he will gain his goal, and it all started at the viewing area. So thank you for making that a priority, because I know you didn't have to.
No, we appreciate it, and we've heard a similar story at our ribbon cutting of a young lady whose son wasn't really able to speak. She started bringing him to the viewing area, and he started saying, plane. And then she brought him twice a week, and he actually spoke for a few minutes at the ribbon cutting. So it was great to see that connection, not only with the community, it's the community's airport, and but it also serves a lot of other purposes.
But you've gone above and beyond. You have. I don't know if you've taken your grandkids or whatever, but they pass out coloring books, and the people come over and ask questions. I mean, you really made it a very family-friendly area, which I have no understanding of, because planes really don't do much for me except make me nervous. But I do go. So thank you very much.
No, we appreciate it. Thank you. And we're fortunate that we also have the West Michigan Aviation Academy on the property. So we're all about aviation. Anything we can do to help promote that, it's great.
Commissioner Morgan.
Thanks. Hey, Jim, appreciate your leadership out at the airport. I have the opportunity to work with Jim pretty closely, and he's a true professional. Back in 2007 or 8, right during the height of the recession, this board had enough courage to pass a bond for the parking garage, which I signed for about $120 million. And the only thing I said to Brian Picardi at the time is, you better be able to pay for this. How's that airport garage doing? Parking garage.
The garage is doing great. We just finished we just finished our second to the last upgrade to the garage. We did the second level. We apologize to anyone that was parking on the second level for the last couple months. We repaired the pavement, resealed the pavement, put new energy efficient lighting in that second level. We're going to do the same thing on the first level with just the lighting. But the garage is doing well. We continue to have in the winter, you know, as we all come in the morning, we look at the sign that tells you how many spaces are left, and we're like, uh-oh, it's starting to fill up. It's starting to fill up. But the garage is doing very well. I think the roof, which was part of that bond issue you referred to, was a follow-up to that bond issue. Was into that. Actually, what we're looking at in our master plan is where does parking continue to go? I think there's a concern, understanding the history a little bit, that wow, are we building something that we're going to be able to pay for this? And it's very, very successful, and I think our challenge is how do we accommodate that growth in the future. But the debt continues to go down as well. Our long-term debt at the airport had just fallen about $5 million a year, and it's continuing to drop. So that financial stewardship is really important to it. Certainly appreciate the support.
Thank you. Commissioner Stack.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Welcome. Good morning. How many FBOs are located at the airport, and essentially what is their role in your master plan?
Great question. Right now we have one FBO. Signature is the sole FBO. Some airports may have two. Very large airports may have even three. One or two is kind of the norm. There's a limited amount of business, and so for people who don't understand what an FBO does, they handle local aircraft, whether it's a privately owned aircraft. They will hangar your aircraft. If you fly in, they will fuel you, take care of your aircraft. In regards to the master plan, the FBO Signature, their manager just changed, unfortunately, and we really enjoyed working with her. But the new one's just as good. They are a part of the master plan advisory committee. So we get a room full of folks. There's representatives from the county, the city, Grand Rapids, Cascade, all kinds of stakeholders to provide input on that. And what you see on that graph I showed you, or that aerial I showed you a little earlier with economic development, is opportunity to continue to grow. Not necessarily the FBO, but there's room for additional corporate hangars, there's room for additional FBO space. We are an open facility, we're a public facility. If another FBO wanted to come in, we would certainly entertain those discussions as long as they met those minimum standards. So, would
you ideally like to see more than one? Does that?
I always think the competition isn't bad. I think anytime you have one operator, you struggle with people's perception, if nothing else, as to whether it's fuel pricing or space. But we would definitely love to entertain that. But we have a great partnership with Signature, and they take care of the customer. So our doors are open.
Jim, thank you for your report. Very informative, and I know we've seen stats that every year we keep going up in the number of seats. That's great news, and just keep up the good work.
We appreciate it, and thank you again for all your support and your leadership.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to the second special order of business today, which is an annual update from our Chamber of Commerce, and welcome Andy Johnston to the podium. Good morning, Andy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the invitation to speak. I love Jim's presentation as well. The theme seems to be growth, and I'm going to about that as well. And just update you on the three buckets of the Chamber's work: advocacy, talent development, and business services. Actually, I'm more of the appetizer. The main dish is going to be our Vice President of Business Services, Dante Villarreal, to talk about what we're doing in business services and the Creative Chamber pilot. But just to remind you, the Chamber represents 2,400 businesses in the area, big and small, all driving our economy. Just love my job every day. The best way to improve society is more better paying jobs, and we want obstacles for our members so that they can do that. I know it's cliche, but I'd say that the state of the Chamber is really strong compared to our peers around the nation. We weathered the recession really well in terms of membership, and I think it's a testament to the strong business community we have, the diverse business community. And ribbon cuttings are up too at the Chamber, which is always good. Have big scissors, we'll travel, let us know. We've also been nominated for Chamber of the Year in the state, and so we hope to get that at the end of October. In the advocacy bucket, it's a really successful spring. We played a key role in getting the transformational brownfield plan passed, as well as the MIPSERS reform, and then working with partners like the Right Place on the Good Jobs package. Also, as you know, talent is a huge concern for businesses. We were fighting in the state budget for more dollars for the Skilled Trade Training Fund, and we were successful in increasing that by $11 million. So our businesses can access that to train their existing employees for job openings that exist within their companies. As you know, the growth in our region has been just incredible. I love all the stats. My favorite one is we were #1 in job growth of any metro area last year. That's huge. We're also, as you know, the best place to start your career, the best place to buy a house, and everybody's favorite, the best place to be a millennial. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but if we can help people win at adulting, that's always good. But the real stat that's really exciting is that in 2008, you were talking about the recession, the conversation was, how do I get my kids to save? The most exciting stat is that Michigan is winning among all Midwest states in the net inbound migration of people 18 to 35. That is just huge. Who would have thought in 2008 that would be where we're at in Michigan? You know, there's so much success happening. We want to build on that momentum. We can't become complacent. Other people are trying to do it. Kent County is a critical partner in that you have a unique position as a regional unifier, and we've really appreciated the relationship, particularly in the area of collaboration. This is a high priority for the Chamber. The county can leverage its position and resources to encourage more innovative ways to improve service delivery, and have really appreciated the leadership of Chair Salfeld through the Community Collaboration Work Group, taking that forward. We're continuing to work on different areas. A lot more to do, but excited where it's about to lead. That's it from an advocacy perspective. I'd say I also call bucket of work constituent services. When members have problems, we're trying to solve them, and have really appreciated, again, the relationship with county staff. We get a lot of questions about regulations, licensing, and inspections, especially as there's more activity. They keep coming, and county staff and this body has been really responsive to member needs, and we truly appreciate that. We have an ease of doing business study that's just about completed that we'll be rolling out, talking about what else local government can do to support this environment. The second bucket is talent development, which I'll touch on just quickly. That's things like our Leadership Grand Rapids program. Our 31st Leadership Grand Rapids program, or class, just completed orientation, which is really exciting. We have an awesome Athena luncheon coming up where we're celebrating Joan Budden from Priority Health today with 650 or so of our closest friends. We also run groups like Emerging Leaders to get that next generation engaged in what they can do for our community, or programs like OutPro and Black Women Connect. What we really wanted to update you on is the Chamber's increased work in business services and our Creative Chamber pilot. So I'm going to turn it over to Dante to touch on that.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning to all. I do want to give an update on the activity we're doing for business services. As Andy said, I'm the new Vice President for Business Services. I spent the last 15 plus years at State University as the Director for the Small Business Development Center. And now have the opportunity to bring that skill set and that expertise to the Chamber, and that's intentional. The idea is that the Chamber will bring in subject matter experts that can help businesses move the needle when it comes to their growth, their access to resources, access to how they connect with other entrepreneurial support organizations. And then something that's really important is access for everyone. We now have a motto there that we are the Chamber for everyone, regardless of where you are geographically. You don't have to be downtown. You don't have to be just in the city of Grand Rapids. It's the greater Grand Rapids Area Chamber of Commerce. We also want to have access to everyone, regardless of which neighborhood you live. We are working on creating office hours for my team at the corridors where traditionally the Chamber has not had a strong presence. The Latino business corridors that have the African American neighborhood corridors that are also thriving but also struggling and have challenges. We need to be intentional in bringing our Chamber to them. So I'm excited to share that. That is in 2018 a big push for business services. I want to give you a quick update on two programs. One is Elevate. Elevate is our minority business development program for second stage businesses. So all the studies show that the true job creation, when we hear small business creates 90-some% of the jobs, it really is in the second stage life cycle. That's typically about $1 million in sales on up for a business, or about 10 employees on up. That's where the growth happens. This entrepreneurial program is geared for that life cycle of the business or stage in business, but for minority business owners, because the studies also show that when business owners hire employees, they hire minority employees at a rate a lot higher than non-minority. So that's one way that we can look at creating economic advancement within our minority communities here in Greater Grand Rapids. The other program that I want to give, and by the way, the Elevate program begins its second year. We have the first cohort that went through in 2017, completing, and then in 2018 we have a second cohort of businesses that are joining. The Grand Valley Dorothy Johnson Center for Philanthropy did a study on the participants from the first cohort and found it to be a very successful program and one that really does move the needle for the small businesses. The other program that I want to give you an update is the West Michigan Minority Contractors Association that is operated out of the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce. We're taking an opportunity to really evaluate the value proposition that we bring to the table with that organization. We're working with our general contractors and our minority subcontractors to really identify how can we help them connect and do more business and make sure that this construction boom that we have benefits all parts of the community. So that's very exciting. We have some very exciting opportunities that we're planning to I want to talk a little bit about the creative chambers that some of you might have heard about. This is a pilot program that's funded through the Michigan Film and Digital Media Office that is part of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. They're given 5 communities, Marquette, Traverse City, Ann Arbor, Detroit, and of course Grand Rapids. They're giving us $250,000 each for 3 years for this pilot. The Chamber of Commerce will be the fiduciary for our program here, and we'll facilitate all of the discussions. When I hear pilot program, to me that means here's our opportunity to maybe take a little risk and really think outside the box and think about what can we do to create a program that brings value to our community. The objective is to attract and retain the creatives here in Greater Grand Rapids. Being specific is there are 12 creative classes. Film, digital media, that's typically what we think about, but there's also technology, graphic design, fashion, and the list goes on and on. There's a lot of creatives that we need to make sure have either entrepreneurial opportunities or business development opportunities here in Grand Rapids. The large employers, the large businesses here in town have realized that not only are they competing on their manufacturing, but really on the design part of it. And what better way to attract a high caliber design professional to our town than by having offerings that this professional can partake in. Not just employment opportunities, but afterward. Can they be engaged with local activity that really fuels that creative or design side of it? This creative chamber process will begin this fall. Currently, we're putting together a 16-member advisory council that will review the activity or the proposals and decide what do we fund or what projects we undertake. The cool thing here is that even though the chamber is the fiduciary and the program manager on this, we want the creatives to be in the driver's seat. We are creating this advisory council that will be made up of a very diverse set of individuals that are passionate about their creative industry and have connections and have economic or social capital that they can bring to the table. And because these are the creatives, I'm pretty sure we are going to come up with some pretty exciting and innovative ways to showcase to the country how Grand Rapids is the place to be, but also to showcase to our creatives here locally that you don't have to be in a silo. You don't have to just do your thing. You can plug into the Chambers of Commerce and connect and look at more opportunities more business opportunities, entrepreneurial opportunities. How do we help you not only come to this community, but stay here and thrive and be successful? And that's where the chamber comes in with the business side of this equation. The official launch will be probably mid-October, so expect to hear that. And we're excited. We're excited because we feel that here in our town, we love to work with, collaborate, and I think we have some pretty interesting ideas that are already bubbling up that I can't wait to share very soon. So I'd like to open it up for any questions on this, either the chamber in general or the Creative Chambers initiative that we will be undertaking.
Thank you, Andy and Dante. Are there questions this morning by any commissioners? Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you both for coming. Quick question. It's great that you focused on the 10 list that, unfortunately, that we're part of relative to being the second worst metropolitan area for what entrepreneurs and businesses owned by folks of color. What are the metrics that you're using in that effort? So what needles are you focused on moving?
So for me, it comes down to the bids that that these minority firms submit, the proposals that they could actually get their hands on and put a bid in. Get it or not, I mean, we're going to be providing a lot of support services, so they become very competitive. We're not asking the general contractors or the community in general to put set-asides or things like that. We're asking them to let them be at the table, let us help them be a strong business, put a strong proposal, get the bonding, get the insurance, get everything they need in order to be competitive as well. Job creation, the loans obtained, capital is also a big barrier. We're working with the Pure Michigan Microloan Program. That's $5 million that are being put into this community to give loans or microloans. And the exciting part of this microloan initiative is that it's not based on credit score. They base it on credit history, which is they want to make sure that they're trying to pay their bills and so forth, but not credit score. This will be partnering with Opportunity Resource Fund for the chamber to access point for that loan, for that microloan. So it's access to capital, the number of loans and the size of loans that our minority firms are able to obtain. And of course your typical job creation, job retention, and other economic development metrics. But it comes down to really it's the job creation, the opportunities that are given to our minority and women-owned businesses. We're also making sure that we are opening the doors as a Chamber of Commerce to all the, and you mentioned a couple initiatives that we have, such as OutPro and Black Women Connect. We're also working with the West Michigan Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to do some activity with them as well. We understand that as a Chamber of Commerce, we can't just sit here downtown and wait for people to come to us. We need to go to them as well.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Commissioner Womack.
Yes. When you talk about the creative aspect of that and reaching out to businesses or to people who are in those creative fields, I have two questions. What are some of the outputs you're looking for? Basically, if they're going to be funding, are they funding these businesses just to be businesses, or are there going to be certain attached with that, certain outcomes? They want to see productive outcomes in the community. And how are you reaching out to the minority communities for them to know of these new opportunities from the Chamber of Commerce?
Excellent. So just to clarify on a couple of things, for the minority development side of it, we need to go to them. We're not waiting for them to come to us. So we're being very active to work with organizations such as Grand Rapids Area Black Businesses, Jamil Robinson, working with our friends at the Urban League, working with anyone who has touch points with our minority business community. And one very important factor is that we ourselves need to also be reflective of our minority business community internally at the chamber. So, and it's not just bringing on staff that are reflective of it, but actually are reflective and subject matter experts that they can go out and work with our minority businesses. On the Creative Chambers side of it, our advisory council is being formed by us having discussions with many folks out in the community that represent the creative industry. But because it lands here at the chamber, we also want to make sure that this advisory council also reflective of our ethnicities here in our community. And I'm happy to report that it is. I'd say about 40% of our participants are of color as of now. So I'm very excited for that. But they also live and work in these communities. We're having discussions with, so if somebody, let's take one, for example, graphic design. Let's be intentional about talking to graphic designers who are also representative of our greater Grand Rapids community, not just your typical one that might be located down. Let's go out and talk with those out in the community. And then the other thing that we're doing is we're open to suggestions. If anybody has anyone that they feel I need to go talk to, I'd be happy to do that and connect and see how they can come in. How we select the projects, so these aren't projects that are going to be funding a specific business, they're going to be funding initiatives. So if somebody comes and says, you know, we want to create the next South by Southwest conference here in Grand Rapids that brings all these creatives together and so forth, okay, that's something we look at because it's a collective, not just, as a matter of fact, it can't even benefit just one creative industry. It has to reach out and touch as many of the creative industries as possible. So that's the idea, that we fund initiatives that have a greater impact. And we're not funding businesses or a business project. It's more of a collaborative that we want to fund.
Will you be doing any releases through Grand Rapids Times or La Voz or our Hispanic newspapers?
Absolutely.
African American and Hispanic newspapers.
Absolutely. Yep. Mention will be that. So once we have this advisory council in place, that's why it's so important that this advisory council is made up of a diverse community, because they're going to go out there as well, and they're going to be tasked to connecting with all of the community. And then we have a budget for the media. Absolutely.
And one last question. Do those funds allow you to have any correlation with maybe Grand Rapids Public Schools, or being able to touch upon youth so there's more of an entrepreneurial spirit in those sides of town in the next 5 or 10 years by some seeds that we plant today?
Absolutely. So like I said, when I hear the word pilot, to me that means, okay, anything's up for grabs. Anything's on the table. If we talk about attraction and retention, the retention piece, do we wait till they're a millennial and have 10 opportunities to go elsewhere, or do we stand and say, look what we have here in this community and how can we bring them into the fold? For example, any activity that we bubble up to fund, could there have a younger entrepreneurial K-12 component? Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, anything's up for grab.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jones?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to take a moment and commend the Chamber for having the programs that connect the state and elected officials with your members. And I think that is a wonderful opportunity to connect that in a bipartisan effort across the board. And if you just want to take a minute and touch upon that, because I've personally attended quite a few, and I'm really impressed with the opportunity to chat with your members in an informal setting on what the county does and how we do it and where we can help them.
You've almost teed me up for a shameless plug about our Next with Legislators on
You're
September
welcome.
25th at Hope Network. Register at grandrapids.org. It's those, the access points I think are critical. When I was a legislative staffer, I saw firsthand it was, business folks going directly to their elected officials saying, I'm in the trenches and I'm running up against this policy issue. It needs to be changed. That's when policy, we can move the needle on policy. So thank you for that. There will be bacon at that breakfast. We also do politics and pints if you're not so much of a morning person. Former state legislator who wasn't as much of a morning person, and she always asks for lunch with legislators, and we'll be doing that on October 23rd. Woo! A little late for somebody, but I know the senator who chairs appropriations is also in that same boat, so we're hoping he'll show up for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, and we appreciate your both your participation and your collaboration with the county in many ways. Very appreciated. Thank you. We'll move next to item 6 on the agenda, which is public comment. If there's any public comment, please come forward. You have 3 minutes. State your name and address.
2
3
minutes. 3 minutes. I thought I had 5.
Somebody set a timer.
Name and address, please.
David Bulkowski, 322 Woodmere Southeast, the city of Grand Rapids. I come to public comment primarily because I'm way more comfortable on this side of the table than that. But secondarily, the issue that I have, and if Commissioners Hennessy and Morgan pass out the materials, I'm here for a ballot issue to encourage you to get on board to the Friends of Transit campaign. Vote yes November 7th. To cut to the chase, the good news, this is not a tax increase. It's a simple renewal. The bad news, this is not an increase of capacity or opportunity for our public transportation system. It's simply a renewal of what the current millage is. The other advantage of being in public comment, you can't ask me any questions. But no, in all seriousness, you know where to find me if it's about this. If you haven't heard, we're on Amazon's shortlist. And if you read the Dallas newspapers, Dallas is also on Amazon shortlist for 50,000 jobs. The Dallas editorial board is slamming how bad Dallas's public transportation is because Amazon has put public transportation on its short list of characteristics that it wants for its employees. I don't know if we have a public transportation system that is as good as our airport. The people the Rose Center, who came to the city of Grand Rapids and looked at our system, they said, yeah, it's an okay system for what we have. So for today, the quality that we have, the awards that the system has received, I do believe that it is more than worthy for continued support of the voters. Since 2000, voters have supported this. Once we lost in 2009, we as Friends of Transit, but we came back with actually a larger request in 2011, and voters supported that because there was more service. People are always asking for more additional service. As a complexity in my life, not only as a county commissioner working at Disability Advocates, co-chair of Friends of Transit, I also serve on the Rapid Board being appointed by Mayor Bliss in January. At that table, I continually advocate for more flexibility and responsiveness to customers. Commissioner and the City Commissioner Steck have been doing a lot of work with Mayor Huizinga in the 3-mile corridor. That's in the Rapid service area, and you can't get there from here very well. And so how can the Rapid be more flexible, partnering with Hope Network and others to get people to jobs that are open today? Forget the 50,000 jobs that are open or might with a huge air quote, might be with Amazon, but there are tens of thousands of jobs that are being developed in the 3-mile corridor. And how many folks? And there are employees begging for help.
30 seconds.
And having that flexibility, that's what this will keep us in the game. Again, voterapidYes.com. You can go to endorse. You can fill out the paperwork if you're old school like me. Find me if you have additional questions. And we'll go anywhere for presentations. Last night I was at the Kent Dems. In 2 weeks I'll see some of you at the Kent GOP meeting. We'll go anywhere to talk why this is a yes vote is needed for our entire community. Thank you so much. With seconds to spare.
Do you have more of those, David?
More, and I have boxes more.
Okay, anyone else for public comment? By the way, I think I'll continue to have you speak to us in that format going forward. Good morning.
We saved 5 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Teresa Hendricks, and I reside at 24 Campos Circle, downtown. And I just wanted to update the commission on some work that we've been doing. Hopefully you'll be pleased to hear the news. I know the commission did a tremendous amount of work on farmland preservation issues with the agribusiness community work, and I'm part of a core group that has carried on that work, and we've been meeting regularly, and we've made some very good strides, and I wanted to make you aware of what we're up to. We want to find a way for this county to move forward to actually preserve farmland. I know that if you look at your very exhaustive report, there was a goal to preserve 25,000 farm acres in 2002, and we are at less than 4,000. And we actually have an ordinance that is all set to this, but we realize that the county can't be the long-term funder of this. So what we're doing is we have convened all of the subject matter experts in different areas that relate to local farms and local food and the production of food and saving our farmland. And we're doing a workshop on October 4th at the Blandford Nature Center, and I have these to pass out. And the idea for the workshop is right on here. It says that we want to hear from the experts. So we have Gene Ming, we have Rich Harlow, and we have some local experts. And the idea is to get the best minds at the table to come up and consider all the funding solutions that have been used before, and to have a plan going forward so that we can do something more than we've been doing. We feel like the window is closing on opportunities. Some of the farms that want to be preserved are losing faith that we can actually get it done. So this is really the meeting to be at. And so my request to all of you is to continue to be involved in our core work group. We call ourselves the Concerned Citizens to Save Local Farms and Local Food. I myself work at Migrant Legal Aid, and so I'm the labor expert in the core group. But based on this conference, which is from 1 to 5, we are going to come out of this conference with an action plan and our preferred funding options that fit this county best, because we know different counties have different ways of funding them. So we'll have experts from agribusiness, planning commissions, townships, different business sectors like healthcare. And so I'm here to request as much participation from commissioners at this October 4th workshop as possible. And if you have any questions about it, I'm here to answer those. Other than that, I want to thank the original members of the commission that were so integral in putting this report together, and that was Commissioner Sawfeld, Commissioner Jones, and Commissioner Ponstein. We did a lot of work on this. So we're trying to continue your work forward and happen. I'd just like to see all of you, or some of you, or most of you there. So am I allowed to pass these out?
Sure, just give them to the clerk there.
Does anybody have any questions?
We can't take questions here,
okay.
Public comment, but appreciate your time, and we'll receive your handout there. The report you're talking about, just to be clear, is the agribusiness work group report that came out, what was that, about a little over a year ago, I believe. So.
Yeah, April 14, 2016.
Okay. All right, any other public comment? State your name and address, please. 3 minutes.
Pastor Daniel Scott, 1204 Hovey Southwest. Once again, I'm here to speak up for the most abused and discriminated against citizens of our county, the unborn. And again, the statement you make, again on today's agenda, is that you will enhance or try to enhance the quality of all of us, in my opinion, which includes the unborn. And this is yet another reason why we must make this county a sanctuary, refuge county for the unwanted. This article was written by a doctor, Tony Lavatino, and he describes the dilation and evacuation procedure of murdering a child. Imagine for a moment that you are a pro-choice obstetrician gynecologist, as I once was. Your patient today is 17 years old and she is with child 20 weeks. At 20 weeks, the uterus is up to her umbilicus, and she has been feeling the baby kick for the last 2 weeks. If you could see her baby, she would be as long as your hand from the top of her head to the bottom of her rump, not counting the legs. Your patient is now asleep on the operating table with her legs in stirrups. Upon entering the room after scrubbing, you dry your hands with a sterile towel and are guided and gloved by the nurse. The first task is to remove the laminary that had earlier been placed in the cervix to dilate it sufficiently to allow the procedure you are about to perform. With that accomplished, direct your attention to the surgical instruments arranged on a small table to your right. The first instrument you reach is for a 14 French suction catheter. It is a clear plastic and about 9 inches long. It has a bore through the center approximately 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Picture yourself introducing the catheter through the cervix and instructing the nurse to turn on the suction machine, which is connected through clear plastic tubing to the catheter. What you will see is a pale yellow fluid looks like urine coming through the catheter into a glass bottle on the suction machine. This is the amniotic fluid surrounded the baby to protect her. With suction complete, look for your sulfur clamp. The instrument is about 13 inches long and made of stainless steel. At one end are located jaws about 2.5 inches long, 3/4 of an inch wide with sharp ridges of teeth. This instrument is for grasping and crushing tissue. When it gets hold of something, it does not let go. A second trimester D&E abortion is a blind procedure. The baby can be in any orientation or position inside the uterus. Picture yourself reaching in with Sulfur clamp, grasping anything you can. At 20 weeks gestation, the uterus is thin and soft, so be careful not to perforate or puncture the walls.
Your time is up. Thank you.
My time is up?
Your 3 minutes is up. Thank you. Is there any other public comment this morning?
I was not finished. I had a few more minutes.
3 minutes is what our rules allow, so everybody is following that rule today.
Okay, I have some pictures to pass around.
Hand them to the clerk. Is there any other public
Child
comment
that's been
this morning?
destroyed in this way. I'll come back next time and finish it.
I see no other public comment, so we will move to agenda item number 7, which is the consent agenda, and I will call on Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I move the consent agenda, items C.
Is there support?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Breedy. Questions or comments on the resolution? I see none. This is a roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
On the motion to adopt the consent agenda, Commissioners Womack,
Yes.
Voorhees, Vonk,
Yes.
Talon,
Yes.
Steck,
Yes.
Skaggs,
Yes.
Ponstein,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Melton,
Yes.
Mast,
Yes.
Korndike,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Spolkowski,
Yes.
Breeby,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bolter,
Yes.
Commissioner Antor,
Yes.
Chair Salfeld.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 18 ayes. The motion passes. The consent agenda is adopted.
Thank you. We will move then to agenda item number 8. Well, 8 is our resolutions. We have 2 of them this morning. So for the first one, I will call on Commissioner Hennessy.
I move Resolution 69 as of this date for the Kent County Community Action Authority for assignment of assets and grants for the Community Development and Housing Commission. And this will be the final action, these 2 resolutions.
Okay. Support. Support by Commissioner Mast. Questions or comments on this resolution? I see none. So we will, this is not a roll call vote, so all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We move to the next resolution, number 70, and again I call on Commissioner Hennessy.
Closely related, the Kent County Community Action Appropriation for the Community Development and Housing Commission.
Support. Support by Commissioner Mast. Questions or comment on this item? I am seeing none. It is a roll call vote, so I'll call on Madam Clerk.
Motion to adopt Resolution 70. Commissioners Womack,
Yes.
Voorhees, Vonk,
Yes.
Talon,
Yes.
Steck,
Yes.
Skaggs,
Yes.
Ponstein,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Melton,
Yes.
Mast,
Yes.
Korndike,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Spolkowski,
Yes.
Breeby,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bolter,
Yes.
Commissioner Antor,
Yes.
Chair Salfeld.
Yes.
Chair, you have 18 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. The Resolution 70 is adopted.
Oh, thank you. We will move to agenda item number 9, which is a 1-minute public comment. Is there any public comment this morning?
He's going to finish it.
The second trimester D&E abortion is a blind procedure. The baby can be in any orientation or position inside the uterus. Picture yourself reaching in with a Sulfur clamp and grasping anything you can. At 20 weeks gestation, the uterus is thin and soft, so be careful not to perforate to puncture the walls. Once you have grasped something, squeeze on the clamp to set the jaws and pull hard, really hard. You feel something let go and out pops a fully formed leg about 4 to 5 inches long. Reach in again and grasp another, whatever you can. Set the jaw and pull the really hard once again, and out pops an arm about the same length. Reach in again and again with that clamp and tear out the spine, intestines, heart, and lungs. Toughest part of the D&E abortion is extracting the baby's head. I'll paraphrase. You need to go in there and crush the head so that it will come out in pieces. Often the baby's brains come out later. Congratulations, you have just successfully performed a suction D&E abortion. You just affirmed the right to choose. You just make $600 cash in 15 minutes.
Your time is up. And I would remind anybody that's providing public comment that there is a rule that does not allow public comment that is unduly not relevant to county government and not matters under consideration for the board. Just something to keep in mind. We will move next to reports. Are there any reports? Commissioner Bonk.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The DPW, Darwin Bass, Director, is working with the legislators of our area and Lansing concerning power contract for the power company concerning waste energy. They would like lower rates and a shorter contract period, which makes it almost impossible to waste energy plants. So I just want you to know that is going on, and that work will continue. Darbass testified in Washington last week, so we got that serious work ahead of us at the DPW. And then the second thing is just a comment. A couple of the commissioners asked me about the water issues in Plainfield Township. While I'm not involved in the current water issues, we had a similar issue back in the 90s, I believe, with the landfill on the East Belt Line. And that sludge had migrated all the way down to our water line at Versluis Park. So those problems can be problematic, and it's all about dollars. When we solved that problem, I think we got a grant because the distance of the customer was greater than could make financially feasible. So we had a grant, and I believe that was taken care of that way. So this problem will be taken care of too, but it'll probably take some time as people are put on township water. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Morgan.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'd just like colleagues out to the ribbon cutting on the 27th. Jim, what time is that? It's after our board meeting, right?
Correct. Approximately 10 a.m.
Approximately. That's how we plan out there. Approximately 10 a.m. Depends if the flights are going out on time.
Okay. And Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to give the board a brief update that I sit on the Kent County Parks Foundation as a representative from the county, and they did fill the interim, in an interim way, the executive director position, and that's now held by Sam Moore, and that there is a fundraising event coming up in a few days here on the 15th at Millennium Park. So if you wanted to engage in that, just check that website and feel free to grab a ticket and come on out. Love to see as many commissioners as possible. I will be there, and that is the Kent County Parks Foundation update.
Thank you. That's the event is tomorrow night, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. 15th. Commissioner Talon.
Thank you, Chair. The Grand Rapids Downtown Development Authority met yesterday morning. It was a rather light agenda, but 3 items that might be of interest. One is we authorized funding for holiday lighting, which I hope many of you get to enjoy. I think there's some consensus that it continues to get better every year. Authorized $100,000 of support for Grand Rapids Whitewater, which is its work on permitting and getting the necessary things in line for the restoration of the rapids. And also heard a report on a bike share feasibility study, which was approved 4 or 5 months ago, and it's expected that that report, and assuming that it's determined that it is feasible, a business plan for how to make it happen will be included in that report next spring. As usual, if you have questions about the DDA or any of those items, see me after. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Constein.
Thank you, Chair Salfeld. Just quickly, the Land Bank is meeting today, one of 3 meetings to redo their strategic plan. We've got the county report. We've also got the report from MSU. So hopefully the strategic plan is done by the end of the year and available for people in the county to review at the beginning of next year.
Okay. Commissioner Antor.
I jumped the gun. I guess I'm
more miscellaneous, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'll put you as the first one down under miscellaneous. Commissioner Breedy.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to remind everyone that we have our next lead task force meeting next week, Wednesday at 1 o'clock at the Health Department, and we'll be discussing more of our ideas, our proposals, and talking to some stakeholders as well.
And any other reports this morning by commissioners? I don't see any, so we will miscellaneous, and I'll call on Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. And I appreciate it. My daughter's waiting for me at the airport to come pick her up right now, but this was really important. I wanted to talk a little bit about September 23rd is our annual Freedom Cruise. We'll be going from Sparta to Fifth Third Ballpark. Next Wednesday, the Vietnam Wall, this will be the original mobile Vietnam Wall, will be traveling through Grand Rapids around Rosa Parks Circle. We're hoping a lot of people can show up and line the streets and show our respect. That's a really cool. And at our event, I left everybody tickets. I'd encourage you to stop down sometime during the day on Saturday. We're going to have live music and food and all kinds of entertainment, but a lot of military displays, including the world map. A few years ago when they did the original out there at Fifth Third Ballpark, they had the Vietnam map, and veterans were allowed to go up and put their name on where they served within Vietnam. This year it's more inclusive for all the branches of government, all the different conflicts. So we have a world map that was signed if they served. It's a tremendous event. We're very proud to be a part of it. We're partnered up this year with Art Prize and LZ Michigan, kind of all pulling in the same direction. If you have any questions, you can go to our website. The event starts on September 20th, which is a Wednesday, through Saturday the 23rd, 23rd being the big day for us. If you have any questions, give me a call, and we hope you can go and just honor our West Michigan veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Antor, for always looking out for veterans as well. Vice Chair Bolter.
Thank you, Mr. I just wanted to remind everyone that the applications for all of our citizen advisory boards and commissions and committees are due September 30th, so get that out on your social media, email your friends, anyone you know. We like to get those applications in and get some good people. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Melton.
Just two quick things. One is if you are feeling extremely hungry on Saturday, and I know that there are, I mean, what a wonderful thing to have to show, 5 or 6 great things to do. The Mexican Festival is this weekend downtown. I'm pretty certain, or Hispanic, Fallsburg Park art, I think, is going on. But in Kentwood, we are going to service anyone who is hungry, and they have a whole group of food carts, or what are they called? I'm not
food trucks.
Thank you. Food trucks that are coming in. All sorts of names, all sorts of excitement. So please, a beautiful day. Let's get out and enjoy our county because there's a lot to enjoy.
Thank you. Commissioner Skaggs.
So I understand we have an official policy or unofficial policy of not putting forward resolutions dealing with areas that are outside of our purview. I completely understand and agree with that. But I want to take this opportunity in light of the fact that both Congress and the State Senate have unanimously passed resolutions denouncing white separatism and fascism in the lights of the events in Virginia. So if you can bear with me, I've taken the Senate and trimmed it down. The United States was founded on principles that all humans are created equal and have unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In the more than 240 years since this declaration, our nation has strived, struggled, and made great progress towards achieving these lofty ideals. White supremacist and fascist groups endorse agendas that are in irreconcilable conflict with our nation's founding principles. As they have done in the past, these hate groups seek to reignite social animosities, reverse improvements in race relations, divide the nation, and provoke hatred. The white supremacist and fascist message of racial and social intolerance has led to senseless acts of violence, including the act of domestic terrorism that took place in Charlottesville, Virginia on August 12th. Therefore, personally, I want to be on the record strongly denouncing and opposing violent terrorism, totalitarian impulses, and xenophobic ideologies that are promoted by these hate groups, and suggest strongly that they are not welcome here in Kent County. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Salfeld. Just a couple quick things. I had the opportunity last week to be at the SMART meeting with Commissioner Voorhees. It was hosted by Berry County, who in turn hosted by the Gilmore Car Museum. And if you like lists, criteria is always different, but the Gilmore Car Museum is the #1 tourist attraction in the state of Michigan. It was, you know, if you go to one county, you've only been to one county, and a lot of good things are happening to Berry County. A lot of the struggles that we have up here are the same things they're dealing with, is getting qualified workers to go into manufacturing. And what their chamber, who also does their economic development, has found that a lot of the struggles are with the parents who say, my kid's not going to work in manufacturing. There's a big world out there. Berry County's got businesses that want to expand and can't find people. You only have to look to Bradford White. I think they're up to 1,400 high-paying jobs at that factory that makes hot water heaters. So it was very educational, informative. If you ever get a chance to go to a SMART meeting, they're just kind of a laid-back way of finding out different things about different counties, their positives and negatives that they're facing. Also, when I was first elected here, the late Commissioner Hiddema had called me and told me, he says, you know, one thing that's going to be different from the seats you've held in this one is a lot of time the calls you're going to get are just people that are trying to navigate the county. The county does a lot of things, a lot of different things, and it's easy for people to kind of get lost in the way. I want to just say, and this isn't the first time I've called departments to take care of a phone call I got. The county commission, the county road commission had stepped in when a business on 28th Street located in Grand Rapids had called me with a problem with their front right of way. And my first thought as a commissioner is that that's a state highway. But the county road commission intervened on my behalf, explained what they can and can't do. A resolution was solved, and the business is happy. And I was just appreciative of the county road commission of taking the lead on that and taking care of this issue with this business owner. And then finally, Saturday is the annual Cottage Bar Chili Cook-Off. I once again will be participating, hopefully moving up that ladder. It's a fundraiser for Grand Rapids Whitewater. The chair of the Cottage Bar changes every year, but Founders is a big sponsor of that. So I know it's supposed to be 84, and that's kind of tough to be cooking and eating chili in that type of weather, but it's for a good cause. Dan Verhill and his staff have done a lot and raised thousands of dollars for charities with that event. So if you got a free moment, stop down. There's entertainment. Midlife Crisis is the band. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Breen.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to invite everyone next week, Wednesday at 8:30 in the morning. Michigan State University, they are having a ribbon cutting ceremony for their research center, and they'll offer tours afterwards. And if you haven't been through it, I highly recommend it. It's definitely a huge asset to our community here. We're going to be host to a lot of great researchers, and a lot of great things will be happening. And the scientists will probably be moving in over the next few months, and it takes a little while for them to get all their equipment put together and moved over from their current facilities. But I expect a lot of great things, so come check it out next week, Wednesday.
Any other miscellaneous today? I have one item. The Administrator Recruitment Subcommittee met this morning, and just kind of wanted to give you an update. I'll start by saying that at the next meeting on the 28th, you're going to get a full update from the chair of that committee, Sandy Frost-Steensma, former chair of our board. So I won't get into a lot of details. I'll just give you a quick update, kind of where we're at on the timeline. As you know, the recruiting firm that we hired conducted interviews and surveys. There were 68 personal interviews conducted in last month, and 193 survey responses that were returned. Based on that, they're putting together kind of a rubric of what people are saying about this position. That information is then going to be used to create a recruitment brochure. It's going to be used in the discussion criteria that the search firm used. It's going to be used as part of the decision process when we look at candidates. The firm that we hired is going to probably in the next week or two begin advertising for the position, and this will go out on a national level in many different publications, obviously local as well. And I'm not sure yet how long that period will be, but it'll probably start here in the next week or two. I think based on where this is all going, we're still very much on track with what I've been from the beginning of having somebody in place in Q1 of next year. The only other thing I was going to say is that I mentioned it already. We'll get a full report on some of the other things that this committee has looked at and what the final process will be leading up to finding that final candidate when Sandy is here to present on the committee's progress at the next meeting. If you got any questions in the means, don't hesitate to ask me, Commissioner Morgan, and Vice Chair Bolter, who are on the committee, I'm sorry, and Commissioner Hennessy, who are on the committee as well. That's all I have. We are then to item number 12, adjournment, and I will call on Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I move to adjourn, subject to the call of the Chair, to Thursday, September 28, 2017, at 8:30 for an official meeting.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.